Welcome to the Global Challenge 213-216. 4 years of right use of time, right use of mind, which means right use of affirmations. I'm Clarity Ross, bringing the big booth to you. And in this video, we will talk about another form of affirmations, which is called call and response. Okay, let's say I am the call response leader for the purposes of this video. And I'm going to give out a call and you're going to respond. When the light goes on, that's your turn. When the light's off, it's my turn. We say, I want to be free. 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 Okay, so that's simple call and response. And then there's variations. For instance, I will be free. I will be free. I will be free. I will be free. Okay, and you can put some music to that. You can have some tablas and some sitar or whatever kind of background music, just a drone or something. I want to be free, and then the group says, I want to be free. That's called call and response. I want to go home. 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 And then, I will go home. I will go home. I will go home. I will go home. These are just very basic ideas of called call and response. Very powerful in a group setting. Very powerful to tune people in to their will and their intent. It's a way of tuning into will and intent. Another way to do it, two-part way. Okay, let's do this one. I have the right. You see, I have the right. You repeat. I have the right to be free. 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 Okay, and you can imagine how that can be very, very powerful. So there are variations on that. What I want to introduce in this video is call and response. Call and response has been used throughout the ages. It's very powerful, and can be used in a bad way, like has been in lots of revolutions and various things to get people super agitated and angry, or it can be used in a very, very great way to tune people into right intent, to truth, to their will, to the power of choice, to choose to go home, to choose to be free of delusion. All right, not free at the level of illusions, but free to choose a new hypothetical, free to choose a new hypothetical, free to exchange belief systems, free to accept the gifts of God. Those are the things to be free on. So in call and response, you have a call leader, and then you have the responders, and then you have some music, some background music of some sort. And you can climb the ladder on those affirmations. I want to be free. And the response goes, I want to be free. I will be free. That climbs the ladder. I will be free. I'm certain. I'm sure to be free. I'm sure to be free. See? So I want to be free. I will be free. I'm sure to be free. I'm sure to be free. I want to be free. I will be free. I'm sure to be free. And climb the ladder that way. Climb the ladder with those call and response. These are things that are utilized by those who are wise and those who know how to bring about true effectiveness and how to do it in a speedy, rapid, timely fashion, which is what we need now. Okay, we are past the phase of fooling around. So that's why I'm no longer fooling around. But we're past the phase of just hanging out. So that's why I'm not just hanging out. We're into the phase of effectiveness. Serious business now. It's serious business. So those on the spiritual path have to realize they're engaged in serious business now. They're not just hanging out. It's no longer a hangout. It's not. It's really not. Which is why you will see those who have prepared properly are going to start coming on strong. We'll say, hey, this is serious business. We've got to get with it. No more hanging out and talking. It's not a tea party anymore. This is serious business. This is getting down to what's truly effective, which is right use of affirmations. Now, what about music? People say, what about music? The right use of music isn't call and response as a background to call and response. That's the right use of music in a spiritual situation. It really is. It's best to try and limit it to background. It really is. It really is. From my long experience in this field, I would be very, very hesitant to try and use it in any other way, music, because music can very easily entrain you into irrelevancy and not effectiveness, and you don't even know it. It even happened. I'm very reluctant to use singing in this affirmation. Very reluctant to use singing. That too can easily get into emotionalism and get you off track before you know what's happened. And you get caught up in how nice it sounds and forget the purpose of it. Whereas keeping in a statement format is way more effective, from my experience in evaluating all of this. You can say something. Someone can say, God's fixed will sets me free. And people say, God's fixed will sets me free. God's fixed will sets me free. God's fixed will sets me free. And you might have in the background, God's fixed will sets me free. And God's fixed will sets me free. But you don't want someone up there saying, God's fixed will set me free. And then people say, God's fixed will set me free. You got to be careful of that. Maybe a little bit, but what happens is people get too caught up in embellishing the musicality of the situation. You can have a little bit of it, but it's got to be careful not to slide into just sort of mindless singing. What's that? Okay. So anyway, that's something that's worked out. But what I've seen is that you have to draw a line somewhere. You can say, God's fixed will sets me free. And then people, God's fixed will sets me free. For I'm still as He created me. For I'm still as He created me. You can give a little sing-songiness to it, a little flavor to it. A little flavor, yeah. But we don't want to start getting into the hallelujah thing, you know. Hey, dun, 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 dun. Then it's like a pep rally, kind of a pep rally where the pep is kind of becomes the object of it, and the singing, and before you know it, you don't even know what really is going on. It's just, you have to be very careful. So it's better to start out with the basics, okay? So we can always get back to that. And if we embellish it, okay, fine, but then get back to the basics. So we say, I want to go home. I want to go home. People say, I want to go home. I want to go home. I will go home. I will go home. Or I want to go home. I want to go home. I want to go home. You can put little variations, but keep it pretty basic. Keep it meat, potatoes, basic. I will go home. I will go home. I will go home. I will go home. I will go. I will go home. 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 I'm sure to 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 go home. So you can keep it pretty basic and use different emphasis on the words and various emphasis on the words, very subtle variations. It's better to use kind of subtle, keep it basic and use subtle variations. So I will give you more examples of that in videos to come. So very great. We've introduced call and response, which is a very profound way to go about right use of time, right use of mind. Accept the Global Challenge 213-216 and you will never regret it. See you next video.